we're going to break down the Eastern Conference Playoffs. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you the teams. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about their season so far, give you some key matchups, and tell you who I think is going to win and how many games. So let's start it off with the number 1 versus the number 8 matchup, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. I meant the Atlanta Hawks. The football team is not going over to the basketball court to play basketball. The Atlanta Hawks are going to be hosting the number 8 seed Brooklyn Nets. Now, this year, the Hawks had the best record in the East with a 60-22 record. I still don't understand how they got there. It's been baffling me all year. Yes, they've had very good team play. Maybe 4 out of their 5 starters have had the career year they are ever going to have. And it just all happened at once. But they have had a spectacular season. And they're playing the Brooklyn Nets, who kind of backed into the playoffs this year with the Pacers just unable to win. If the Pacers had won their last game, which they probably should have, but they got blown out, so that's neither here nor there. They would have been in the playoffs. But no, the Brooklyn Nets are in with a 38-44 record. So we're looking at a below 500 team. It's always sad to see that in the playoffs, but that's another story for another day. So over the season, Atlanta and Brooklyn met up 4 times, and Atlanta swept the season series 4-0. So really key matchups to look up is going to be Brook Lopez versus Al Horford. Those are the 2 centers for both those teams. Now, Brook Lopez was injured for most of the year, or a good half of the year. When he came back, he's a very solid player. He's not going to be super flashy, but he's going to average you about 17 and 10, which is really good. And if you look at what Al Horford's done this year, he's really stepped his play up, kind of lived up to some of the potential we all knew he had coming out of Florida. I still think Horford is the better of these 2 players, but it's going to be a fun battle to see down low. We'll see how that pans out. And then you have Darren Williams against Jeff Teague. This is a battle of those 2 point guards. Now, if I was going to tell you, okay, this one's better than this one, I would say Darren Williams is a little better than Jeff Teague just at this point in their careers. Jeff Teague is a little younger. But if you're looking at this season, just only this season in a vacuum, Jeff Teague has had a way better season. He's been able to get his teammates involved. That's why 4 of them are playing so amazing, and the 5th starter is playing well too. And how 4 of them made it to the All-Star game. Jeff Teague is kind of he's not the engine necessarily, but he's the stick shift. You know, he's the what is that called? The clutch. He's the guy who shifts the gears for everybody. Am I stupid with cars? I am.
Gear shift? Well, I mean, the clutch helps with that anyway.
He's the gear shift. Yeah. He's the one who keeps them either, okay, let's go fast, or, oh, all right, let's slow it down. He's really, the guy who keeps everything going. So really what you had is Atlanta this year, started out 7-6. They ended up 60-22. I mean, this season has been a Cinderella season for them. Nobody's expected it. You kind of had a coach their head coach fell out of the Greg Popovich coaching tree, so he's probably got some talent there. But it's still kind of baffling me. They don't have any superstars on this team. They have players that are good. They have players that are getting better with Jeff Teague, Al Horford, players like that, Paul Millsap. But you don't have that bona fide superstar. Now, thankfully, on the Nets, their closest superstar would be Darren Williams. Joe Johnson never quite lived up to the contract that he got there. So I kind of see this as not really being that good of a series. I'm picking Atlanta to win in 4. So that means that's a clean sweep for Atlanta. And
that's a little severe.
It's not severe. It's just how I see it. That's how it's going to happen. That's how I see it happening.
I don't.
Yeah. I mean, let me know what you think. Hit us up.
I see Brooklyn getting a win.
Who? Brooklyn getting a win. So you say Atlanta winning 4-1 over Brooklyn? Well,
yeah.
Well, viewers, please feel free to let us know. What do you think? What do you think this record will be? Or is Brooklyn going to win it? I want to see somebody put Brooklyn's going to win this and give me a reason why. That would be interesting. So let's move on. Because Brooklyn. Brooklyn? Shame on you.
On what grounds will Brooklyn win? On the grounds of Brooklyn.
On the grounds of Brooklyn, I declare them the winner. But yeah, so let's keep on moving. Let's move to the next matchup, and that'll be the Cavs versus the Celtics. This is the number 2 versus the number 7. So you have the Cavs were 53-29. pretty comfortably in at the number 2 spot, and Boston coming in at 40 and 42. So another below 500 team. Just makes me feel bad for all the teams in the West who are above 500 that didn't make the playoffs, and you have 2 below 500 teams in there. Now, Boston started out pretty badly, and somehow about 3 months ago turned on the Jets, and they've been playing pretty well since the All-Star break. They made it in. Now, really, when I was looking at matchups to watch, I couldn't really figure out any. You're going to have fun watching Isaiah Thomas come off the bench for the Boston Celtics. He is going to be the sixth man of the year, I believe. He can score. He can score fast, too. There are players like Jared Sullinger I really like. There's other players on the Boston Celtics, but they're a pretty young team. But I was trying to figure out which matchups would be fun to watch. And, I was thinking maybe Kevin Love, Jared Sullinger. No. It's just going to be LeBron James against the entire Celtics team. That's what it's going to be. If Kyrie Irving knows what's good for him, he's just going to feed LeBron the ball, because when the playoffs start, LeBron is he's the king. He's the king for a reason, because he's the best. Now, I will tell you something that he's the worst at, and that is making a Sprite drink, because there's a Sprite drink out there called LeBron's Mix, and it is the most horrendous tasting thing I have ever tasted. I enjoy Sprite. I was like, hey, this might be all right. It's supposed to be cherry, lemon lime, and orange all mixed together to make a Sprite. And when I took a sip of it, I swear that I had just swallowed some of LeBron's vomit that they had put some chemicals in to make clear. It was disgusting. Disgusting. Probably the worst tasting drink I've ever had. And I think Brendan froze, but that's all right. So yeah, stay away from LeBron's Mix, but the Cavs will win. Now the Celtics, you might say, well, the Celtics might have a chance because they just beat the Cavs back to back over the past weekend. Yeah, I'm not really looking at that. The Cavs already had that locked up, so I'm not worried about that. I'm going to say, and the season was split 2-2. And again, those 2 wins for the Celtics were just the past 2 games. But I'm going to say that it's not a clean sweep, but LeBron and company will win this one 4-1. So we'll see how that goes. Then the next matchup we have coming at you is going to be the number 3 Bulls versus the number 6 Bucks. Now this season the Bulls were 50 and 32, and the Bucks were 41 and 41. So barely at the 500 mark. The season series had the Bulls winning 3-1. So out of the 4 games they played, the matchups to watch is really going to be Michael Carter Williams, the really solid point guard for the Bucks, who's really been helped by the tutelage of Jason Kidd, against Derrick Rose. Now, Derrick Rose, I'm not saying he's the Derrick Rose of old, but if he can recapture just a little bit of that magic he used to have, it's going to be pretty special. So you got Derrick Rose again against Carter Williams. Now, the real interesting things about these 2 teams matching up is that the Bucks actually have the 5th youngest roster in the NBA, and the Bulls have the 4th oldest. So it's going to be kind of young versus old, because you have like the Paul Gasols. Derrick Rose has been there for a while, but Kirk Heinrich. I mean, some of the old veteran savvy players that have been here, been there. Paul Gasol has won 2 championships with the Lakers, so he knows what he's doing. Now, I could see this swinging pretty badly in the favor of the Bucks if Noah or Taj Gibson cannot get in there, because they did miss the last game of the season. They have been a little bit on and off. I think they missed the last game just for rest, but they've been a little on and off with injuries all year. So if those guys are at all hampered or just can't play at all, it's going to be a different series. If that happens, if those guys are injured, I see this going maybe 6, maybe 7 games. Bulls still pulling out. But if they are healthy, they are in there, it's going to be a 5-game series. So I think the Bulls will win 4-1 if those guys are healthy. So that brings us to the last Eastern Conference matchup, and that is the number 4 Raptors playing my home team town, the number 5 Washington Wizards. And this season series wasn't so great. The Raptors won 3-0. Some entertaining games, but also some blowouts. But Toronto was 49 and 33. Washington was 46 and 36. So the matchups to watch. Now, this will be one of the most fun matchups in the entire NBA playoffs, and that'll be Wall going against Kyle Lowry. John Wall, he deserved what he got to be able to start in this year's All-Star game. He has taken a little bit of a step up, really, with Paul Pierce being there and saying, hey, man, you need to take a leadership role. He's been able to do that. But Kyle Lowry has played almost as well as him. I mean, in Eastern Conference guards, it's almost One would be John Wall. Maybe two's got Kyrie Irving for point guards, and then Kyle Lowry maybe is 2A. So it's been pretty close, and that should be a really fun matchup to watch. But then you also have Bradley Beal versus DeMar DeRozan. Now Bradley Beal has not lived up to his potential in my opinion this year. He is really I expected him to take a step up, average somewhere around 20 points. He hasn't done that. He hasn't even really come close to that. He's come to about like 13, 14 points a game this year. So, in my opinion, he's kind of taken a step back, but he's also been hurt for a little bit. And DeMar DeRozan is really, if he's healthy, and he was hurt a little bit for this year, you're going to have a really good player there. So, and it's kind of funny how these teams kind of mirror each other so much. They both are driven by a point guard, a really good playing point guard. They have a shooting guard that was hurt for a lot of the year. They both started off 1-2 in the NBA for the first, I'm not in the NBA in the East until at least December, and then they both kind of fell off. So we're having interesting things going on there. So we'll see how these teams meet up. They both have a little bit of playoff experience from last year. I don't believe the Raptors won their playoff series last year. I think they played the Nets last year, and Paul Pierce actually blocked somebody's shot at the very end to make them lose. So we'll see how that happens. But if there is going to be a difference maker in this whole series, I think it will be Paul Pierce. Wizards have been resting him for a reason, because this is where he's going to shine. Just throw away everything you know about the regular season, Paul Pierce. This is where Paul Pierce is going to do it. So I look at this one being probably the only playoff series for the first round in the East to go 7 games. So I have the Wizards winning in 7, and I will be 100% honest with you out there that I have the Wizards winning, not the Raptors winning in 7, solely because they're my team. That is about it. I will be honest. A little bit of home team bias. But if I wasn't being biased, if I was going to take away said bias, I would have the Raptors winning in 7. So it's not like it's that much bias. It's not a crazy bias. Just a little bit of bias. But let me know what you think. Who are your Eastern Conference matchups? Who's gonna be the matchup to watch? What series do you think will be the best? And give me some records. Give me some. What do you think? Who Cavs this many games, or Raptors in this many games? Do you think the Raptors are going to sweep the Wizards? Let me know what you think. Hit me up, comments down below. Of course, at What's My Face on Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook. Oh, it's good ways of getting a hold of me.